Oh.
I'm Tom, and that's Till, and we're going to be talking a little bit about Toronto talent here on Say Radio.
So, well, we were going to have Claudio on. Unfortunately, he couldn't make it.
Yeah.
You know, life happens and it's all good. So it's just us being sick and hanging out in an enclosed room together.
It's really funny because last week, Tilly was a bit sick, and he sort of pushed through it, and I'm thankful for him for doing that. And now this week, I have actually caught something, so I almost didn't make it in, but because he pushed through it last week, I thought to myself that who am I to not come here?
Which means if you get really sick, it's my ass.
Yeah, exactly. And now I have someone to blame if I can't make it to school. I'll just say, like, well, Tillio made me come. So, I mean, you know.
Wow.
I mean, you know what I meant by that. Don't take that out of context. Anyways, though, let's talk about a bit of stories. We got some cool things to talk about. And first, we're going to start with a little bit of a controversial topic. To do with student tuition and the general fees to come to school, whether it should be free, whether it shouldn't be, and why don't you tell us a little bit about the story?
So when I walked in the doors here, I saw the Excalibur newspaper, which is York University's community newspaper. The headline is "Fight the Fees Campaign Stirs Up Mixed Reactions from the York Community." I will read for you the first full sentence of this article just so you can get what it's about. On its National Day of Action, the Canadian Federation of Students, or CFS, and its allies marched on Queen's Park to demand free tuition. The CFS is demanding the Ontario government eliminate tuition fees, convert the provincial part of student loans to non-repayable grants, and get rid of outstanding interest on existing student loans. Everyone who's been out of high school has heard the argument to not have fees for college and stuff. I have always been against that movement. I agree with the thing in there about taking the government part of the fees and making it grants. Yeah. All for it. But I think the issue with making college and university free is that it completely devalues it.
True. And actually, I've never really looked at it that way, but it is sort of true that if anybody can sort of get it, and everybody would, really, because it is free, it wouldn't mean as much, and it's almost worth so little now as is.
Yeah, that's the issue, because, this is a conversation I had with one of my uncles, months ago, was that when he was finishing high school, couldn't get into college, and because of that, he couldn't get the higher level jobs. But he could still get work. Whereas now, you're kind of expected to have some kind of degree, bachelor, whatever, to get anywhere at all. Yeah. And it's already lost so much of its esteem to have a post-secondary education. So now, if you take the cost of it away and everyone has access to it, in theory it's great, but let's fast forward 10 or 15 years down the line where people are storming colleges because they have nothing else to do and everyone has the same education and it's just everyone gunning for the same job, and I mean everyone now. It's just, I don't think it's the right way to go about it. I do like I'll do the exact words here, convert the provincial part of student loans to non-repayable grants. I like that.
Yeah, no, yeah, and to go a little bit more onto what you're saying, I truly do agree, and this is interesting because I've never really thought about it this way, but just the way you're saying how it sort of devalues it, and it almost would become a second high school. Yeah. Going out of high school now, many people get jobs, and many people just going into the workforce, going into trade, stuff like that. And they do that successfully from out of high school. But at the same time, if we're taking this sort of higher learning, as it's called, and making it so it's free and everybody would sort of be doing it, would it almost become necessary? Would it become a part of just the general education, where high school is you have to go to high school to a certain age, and then you can say no? Would college sort of have that same sort of expectations of every child going into college, which people might say that that's how it be, but I actually kind of think it would be, because if 90% of the people are going to an institution for education, I think that it would almost become a social norm, more so than it already is. And I think that really devalues, again, to use that word, trades and like going into right to work, because a lot of people make successful livings and it's work they're proud of, and they should be. But I think those people would sort of be put on the back burner almost.
Well, they would. I can only talk about the TV sort of world because that's what I studied here.
Yeah.
And myself, I was part of a group of 120 or so students who showed up, paid for the education, and I was also part of the 6 people that finished the program for whatever reason from that group.
Right.
And the issue there is I have a degree in broadcasting for TV. So do these other 5 people that were in my class that graduated with me. And there are no jobs.
Yes.
There are no jobs for 5 or 6 of us.
Yeah.
How is that going to look when it's a few hundred of us coming out of here, and then a few hundred coming out of the York Systems and the Ryerson and McMaster and all of that stuff? Like, it's not gonna. Maybe there's like some compromise that can be had here. Like, I think maybe we should keep the sort of what's the word I'm looking for? Like the stuff you have to get through as far as fees and like all that. Maybe for stuff like law or medicine or stuff like that. But maybe I don't know. It's just a weird. I don't think it's the right.
I don't think negating the cost is necessarily the right way for multiple reasons. I'll get into why I think personally.
Please,
but to sort of build on what you're saying as well, that it's true that like if you just sort of make it available for everybody, there's less jobs. We're already having a job crisis in North America, let alone the whole world. And so like being able to sift through those people to tell who really does want the jobs and who's passionate about it is almost a part of what the tuition is, and not necessarily directly, but indirectly it does do that as well.
And add to that, sorry to cut you off, add to that the fact that if it was the same sort of process to get into college as it is in high school, who takes high school seriously anymore?
Nobody.
Like there are academic students. There are always going to be academic students who are going to want to learn. But for the rest of them, it's just I'm here because I have to be here.
Yeah, no, it's true. It's very true. And I think to say as well that a lot of those people who are like striving for academics in high school is because they want to get into college.
Yeah.
Right? And if you sort of make it so it's just like anybody can go there.
Yeah, we're going to keep stepping on this word. It devalues the entire thing.
Yeah. Exactly. And I think that's something that you could repeat and it wouldn't lose meaning, unlike what a college degree might lose. But at the same time, that's sort of like, we could talk about that all day because that is a lot to say.
I do think that the solution would be more about helping pay it back. Right. Because like I've been paying back my OSAP loan for almost 3 years. Actually, the end of the month, actually, it'll be 3 years. And I don't make a lot of money, so it's a bit of a bit. But, like, I see how I censored myself live just then. So, like, I accepted that I was going to have to pay for it, and I think that's just a fact of life for anyone who has a field that they're working their ass off to get into.
Yeah.
I think the solution is more at the back end of it. Like, you are making, I don't know, let's throw a number up. They're making $1,000 a month. You can't live on that really if you have to pay rent and internet.
Not in Toronto.
No. Sorry.
No worries.
But yeah, so if they can throw like some grants at you, say, well, you took your degree and you went into that field. Let's help you out because we're all working together. There's got to be a better way than to try and force. Never mind the fact that if you take the money away from colleges, how are they going to pay for stuff?
Yeah, that's what the side that I sort of want to take a stance on, which is if you know anything about corporations and if you know anything about like when people make a big deal about it costing too much for this or that, a lot of the time, companies, private institutions, they will lower it on face value. But the thing is, it's only on face value because then they decide that they're going to raise other fees.
Yeah.
Right? So let's say books. If those go up $100, $200, again, more than they're already costing.
Already, yeah.
Right. It would sort of put it might be free to go to school, and it might have these stigmas to not be going to school, and these sort of like social norms to you have to. But at the same time, they wouldn't just not take money. And the government couldn't afford, I don't think, in my personal opinion, to have a structure where everything is sort of free, because it is an income for the government, right?
There's my main issue with it, aside from people are going to take it less seriously, but on that side of it, people who want to be there are still going to work their asses off, and they're still going to try to make themselves as best they can to get into that position. Mm-hmm. My worry is if you take the money away from the universities, let's say Ryerson, and their medical and their what's the word I'm looking like? Oh my God, it starts with a B. Biology stuff, they're medical. Let's just stick with medical, for example.
Right.
Universities do research.
Yeah.
They study stuff and they help out. I know York's done some stuff. I know Ryerson has had effects in the medical.
Yeah.
If you take away the money from them, how are they going to fund that?
Yeah, they wouldn't. That's the thing. There would be cutbacks. There would be lots of making cuts to make sure that they could sort of afford it. And I think that by increasing the expense of, let's say, a uniform. In my old school, I had to use a uniform. We'll get a little bit more into that in a bit, because I went to school twice now. But yeah, so you got the uniform, you got books, you have so many this, that, and the other that they could nickel and dime you to equal the amount that they're losing. So it's almost like it's a losing battle.
Yeah, but then how do you replace a $20,000 education with textbooks?
They wouldn't.
That's ridiculous. I was upset to pay $90 for a poetry book for an elective.
Yeah.
You take away the tuition fees, that's going to be $300 or something ridiculous.
No, exactly. And that's the thing. People wouldn't.
This is not the comedy goldmine I was hoping for.
Well, it's sort of, this is a controversial topic that we sort of come to the same opinion on. Because I do believe that students, to the flip side of what we've been talking about, do need help paying with tuition. They do need help getting jobs right out of school. And I do think it's a huge issue where having multiple degrees, having 2 years, 3 years, 5 years experience going into open positions, that's almost not acceptable anymore. And it shouldn't have ever been acceptable, because we're having so many people not being able to find jobs in their fields, getting stuck in jobs that they'll just sort of find themselves stagnant.
We've already got jokes about English and literary students working at McDonald's. Mm-hmm. How much worse is it going to be when instead of 100 graduates, there's 1,000? It's just a downhill, you're setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
This kind of thing. I don't
exactly.
know,
and it's not to say that their point of view is worse because of it. I truly believe that these sort of people need to stand up for themselves and say that we want free tuition, and I'm thanking them for it, because without those sort of people making stances, people sort of get free reign to whatever they want. Free what should their prices be, stuff like that, where these people are saying, we want free tuition, we are not going to get it. I'm going to say this now, we're not going to have free tuition for a while anyways. I'm not, it might happen down the road, but just
not until the future when we're all wearing the same shiny silver outfit.
Exactly.
And that kind of utopia.
But, these people make themselves known, and they make people take notice of our wants, right? Mm-hmm. And so we might not get something for free. There might be reductions. There might be programs, bursaries, grants. All this sort of stuff comes from people speaking up for themselves. And I truly do think they're doing a great job, although I don't stand for their overall values. Mm. I do think they have a place.
Yeah, like I said, I personally think the solution is in the payback end of it.
Yeah.
But maybe the free tuition comes in a starting program. Mm-hmm. I was in the TV program, but there's pre-media. Mm-hmm. So you get credits towards that program, then you can go into it. Maybe something like that.
I've heard we can talk a little bit about this. I've heard of a theory, of a design theory for education, secondary and post secondary, where you sort of get the standard pack for free. You go into college, you get your English, you get your liberal studies, sort of like
the mandatory stuff.
Yeah, the mandatory stuff for free. And then from there you pay for your specialization. So instead of just going to school, we're paying for English, we're paying for liberal studies, for general education stuff, for this, that, and the other. You're only paying for the education that you exactly want to get into. So for radio, for TV.
Yeah.
I think there's some merit to a system directed towards that sort of thing. I don't think it's perfect. There's some issues with like how do you distinguish between them? Like if you're having everybody coming here for general studies, who says that people just come into class and get this like fake education otherwise? And I mean, like, people already do that.
Or maybe there's like, because a course on its own here, in my fourth semester I had to take an extra elective because I kept dropping my electives for timing, whatever. But like that class, that's its own separate class, was $300 for a course.
Yeah.
So maybe we take these, not the professional courses, but the mandatory ones, the Englishes and all that, and make it like, I don't know, 50 or 75 a course. That way the college is still making money, you're still getting an education, but you're not paying, your arm and leg for it. And then if you want to continue, you can build towards it. That's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I can't remember who was mentioning that exactly, but I do think that is sort of a system where you could find that middle ground. Yeah. Because I don't think paying this exorbitant amount of money is something that is reasonable for people just coming out of college and just getting jobs. And it's sort of funny where we have this line of income where if you pass it, that's when you start paying, right? Yeah. And if you sort of just make that line, you almost want to make less because it will suck the money out of you.
Yes, it really does. I'm living it, man. Yeah. Like, there is a solution to this, but this is not it, I don't think.
No. And I thank you for protesting, but I think that with more thought and with more sit-downs between both sides, I think we will be able to find something in between.
Yeah.
All right. Just a little bit more. We're stretching this topic a little bit long.
That was funny.
Yeah, I know. It's already 23 minutes into this.
Wow. Really?
Yeah. So just to sort of, I want to share a little bit of experience. Me personally, going through school, I've been through post-secondary twice. I have a degree in private investigation, and it was a great time. But the problem with it is that I didn't. This was at Fanshawe College. It was a great school, and all the teachers are great. I didn't get exactly what I needed because we did really focus on what the job would be. Yeah. Excuse me, a little bit sick. And we sort of talked about like how you get into it, how you start up and where do you go and all the ins and outs of private investigation. Really interesting stuff, by the way. Disguises and whatnot. But nice. What it didn't set me up for was the thought of having to sort of leave my life. Because that was sort of the main takeaway from that program, which is if you want to get into private investigation in Canada, go to the States. Oh. Sounds backwards, right? Because here in Canada, it's Toronto or Ontario specifically, you can't freelance as a private investigator. You can join a firm, but if you look at the firms, all of their opening positions are 5 years experience minimum. So it's sort of what we've been talking about, where if you have a system where we're paying exorbitant amount of money, why is it that time that I spend there isn't going towards this hundreds of hours of experience that you want for an opening position, right? And I think that sort of mentality that corporations have been sort of pushing towards their opening positions is sort of creating this want for free tuition, because if everybody wants so many hours of experience, where do I get it? Well, maybe school, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that desperation of that necessity. Sorry if I can't. Why am I in radio?
Oh boy.
But yeah, so that sort of necessity is creating this want and this desire for such solutions, and even though they're extreme. And I don't diminish my program at all because of it. The last one I took, but it was just to the point where I didn't want to move to America. I didn't want to start a whole new life, and especially at the time where I was going into it, private investigation is very, very close-handed with policing, and the states exactly weren't in a good place to want to be seen as that sort of figure.
That's fair.
Right.
That was what, 2 or 3 years ago, maybe?
Yeah. So there was a bit of a straits between the public and the private there at that time. It sort of died down now, especially with the elections, and that sort of took away a bit of the...
the elections.
Yeah, we're going to get into that a bit later, actually.
More hot takes.
Yeah, we're actually going to take a little bit of a break. We're going to play some music right now, and I hope you enjoy it. Because
are we going to play Steven tonight?
We're going to play a little bit of your music.
Yeah, we last week when we were doing this with Steven Stellarby, I said that we were going to do it, and then that was Sunday. Monday morning, I woke up with no voice at all, and I thought, well, I'm here, I may as well make music. So I did the instrumental bits, sent it over to Steve, and he said, yeah, I'll write something. And on Wednesday, he sent me what we got here.
Awesome.
So I'm excited. It's Star Trouble by myself and Stellarby.
All right, here on Say Radio, the voice of Seneca College.
Every single light in the night sky flicker twice as bright till the end times. If every little moment to moment they wondered sewed into showing, well then he wouldn't have to theorize. If every single tree in the dark days would only catch a breeze and float far away. If every little load and reloading they thundered flowed into showing, well then he wouldn't have to stress every day. But the sun lacks courage, sneaking in sips like he's stealing gold's porridge. The moon's got a little too bright, and the sun won't come out at night. The rays it contrived were a bit too strong, so the moon in reply put some sunblock on. Difficulty catching a break, he sets himself at the lake, watches her rise as he falls, longing for a new dawn. 24 past and he's back to react to the future of his past at last. He thinks, oh, this'll be the day I'll shine so brightly that you'll have to look away. It's a crime how they work so efficiently together, but you can't see the gaze, it's blocked by the weather. A simple adjustment of just a justified rise. She'll finally see the truth that lies beneath his eyes. In time, he'll find a new pride, but right now, it's rough. The sun comes up, but he wants to go back down into the town to reflect on the feelings he's found. In time, she'll find his rise, a prize, but right now, it's tough. The moon shows up, but she doesn't want to get down. No sound around, no feelings found. Oh, it's a struggle, and he's living in a bubble. Oh, star trouble, not subtle, evaporated puddle. It's a struggle, and he's living in a bubble. Oh, star trouble, not subtle, too lovable. In a regrettable moment, the sun decided it would try to fake an edible moment and shed some light on the sidelines. Fill it up with the white lies, unaware of the bright side. How will the moon didn't notice the sun could tell it was bogus, always catching the piercing looks of some judgmental far right. His decision thought unwise. So if you have a moon of your own that you can't seem to let go, take a page from the sun and shine on your own, even if you're alone. And if you're alone with your own sun, let them know if it's real or fun. 'Cause the one thing that keeps him burning is a fire inside that you keep churning. Because the one thing that keeps him burning is the fire inside you keep churning. Star trouble.
And that was Star Trouble by a little-known guy, Attilio.
Hello.
And
Stellarby.
Yeah, he's great.
Steven from last week.
Yeah, no, if you didn't hear our show with him, he was a great guy, and yeah, it was a great conversation with him, and you could see his work. It's really good.
He's on YouTube. It's Stellarby, Stellerby. So he does gaming raps. It's a good time.
And some cool stuff like you just heard.
Yeah.
Well,
yeah.
With Attilio. Here and then.
60 out of 80.
Yeah, exactly. So now that we sort of talked about one's Oh, sorry. Controversial topic. That was like, I'm sorry about that. I'll be honest. That was not professional at all. But yeah, we talked about one controversial topic. Let's go right into another. Oh. So let's talk a little bit about the new president-elect, Donald Trump.
Captain Hair himself.
Yes. Yeah. This is going to be a long topic like our last one, but we just sort of wanted to cover a little bit about it because it's important to talk about it. He is the next president.
Prime rib roast minister.
Yeah, of the U.S. And no matter how we try to look away from the fact, he is it. And good or not, bad or, fine, it's our reality. And I think as a sentiment you're going to hear a little bit is that we're just going to have to deal with it. And that's sort of my opinion as I get into it. I am not the biggest fan of Donald Trump. I think the media portrayed him more drastically than he would like to have portrayed himself with his conversations about deporting people and how he wants to change immigration. I truly do believe that was sort of taking his words and spinning them because it's media, and that's what you do in media, is you make things sound like the end of the world, even if you're talking about a cat up a tree. And I think that was a big part of it. Not to say that he didn't sort of take those sort of stances and that giveaway or that takeaway wasn't meant to be that way. But, I think truly, and this is a sentiment that I sort of carry with myself always, is that people want to do good. And I truly do believe that we're not living in a world where people sort of look at themselves and say, I'm the supervillain, and this maybe, there are outliers. I'm not going to bring up specifics, and I'm sure people have done really, really bad things thinking that they're for the best reasons. Yeah. But I truly don't believe that we're sort of in that situation now. People have looked at him and sort of twisted him into a figurehead where he is an excuse for racism. Yeah. He's an excuse for bigotry and all these other things for hate. And I truly don't think that at all is what should have been taken away from this election process.
See, that's the thing. People, I guess for some reasons, rightly so, put him out there as a mouthpiece for racism. Yeah. That he's taken a platform where he's going to categorize and export any people in America who are Muslim. Yeah. But there are, I was going to say rules. In the Constitution, there are statements that are going to directly stop him from doing that. He's not the first president to take a racist stance. And
he won't be the last.
No. And we're at a point now where people are more, in that way, connected than they've ever been. Rights are everywhere, and it's growing. And it's just happened in the last 5-6 years, even, where there's support for everyone now. It's not going to happen the way people are afraid it's going to happen. Because it can't. Because there are ways, or there are things in his way. Sorry. Yeah. I started that sentence off backwards. And keeping in mind that the most stereotypical thing about politicians is that they make promises and then don't come through with them. And the reason being is that there is stuff that they just can't do because they don't, despite the fact that they're the president or the prime minister or the emperor.
It doesn't mean that they have power
they
for
can't
everything.
say, make this happen, and then it happens. Yeah. Because it's got to get through the entire political system to all 50 states, Like, the only thing I think that maybe had that was when they legalized gay marriage, maybe. I'm not even sure how that worked. But that was a totally positive thing.
That was a huge thing, but that was also, I think that was to the opposite side of the extreme, where that was a human rights issue, right? This, where people are saying, like, he's going to deport so many people, he's not going to allow any sort of Muslims in his country. That is to the other side, the terrible extreme, where that's a human right issue to on the bad side.
Yeah, we've seen that kind of thing before, which is why it's not going to happen. Yeah, people are going to stop it from happening.
And to that point, where Donald Trump is now a figurehead, and he is a mouthpiece for his party. His party is the one that also has power.
Yeah.
He has the power to say things to stir up the people, the general public. He can say things that he wants to do, but that doesn't necessarily mean his party will agree with him. And I truly do believe that this party, the Republican Party, is sort of there to keep him in check. As much as, I don't think he necessarily will need it. I sure hope he doesn't. But I truly believe that it's sort of like a safeguard, because these sort of parties are a group of people that want to make the country better.
And it's if the president of the United States was a dictator, sure, justified fear. But it's a democratic system for that reason. So that kind of stuff can't fly.
Yeah.
And I think I honestly wonder how much of how he acts is just for camera.
No, yeah.
There's no way he goes home to his wife and just rants about being racist stuff.
No.
To us, there's got to be another side, because we only see the side, especially you and I had no interaction with him.
No.
Whatsoever.
I went to pizza with him once.
Really?
No.
How could you? But yeah, I honest to God wonder how much of that is an act, because he's been in front of cameras for a while, so he's got some acting stuff. He's got, otherwise the shows would have never taken off.
Yeah, I actually great conversation starter of sort of talking about how this is sort of an act. I truly I was talking with one of my teachers, Larry. For copyright, yeah. He is not the hugest supporter of Trump one way or another, but what he did talk about, because he's all about advertising, okay, where Trump is a salesperson. He didn't. He has sold so many contracts. He has sold lots. He has made money, right? And he is used to being able to sell whatever. And he's sort of skewed that into selling himself, and not to just an employer or a contract, a business. He's selling himself to the country, and he successfully did that. Whenever he talked, he said, "I'm going to do this is for you. This is not they're going to pay for it. We're going to be okay. They're the ones voting, right? It's not the other people who we're talking about, whoever it may be, the Canadians, the Mexicans, whatever. If we say that they're going to do something that's bad, it's okay because we in America are fine." And that was sort of the sentiment that he deplored against everybody, which was this is for you. We're going to make the country great for you. And where Hillary, on the other side, she was all business. She talked about the contracts that she was going to be putting in place. She talked about all the statutes and very, very dry stuff, right? Stuff that nobody wants to hear. You might be a for Hillary person all the way, but it's sort of like a lecture, right? Yeah. As cool as you might think your teacher is, lectures are boring, right? So I truly do believe, as much as I might not agree with a lot of what either side may say, that as far as selling themselves, Trump did the superior job. And if you disagree with me, look at the results. Yeah. Right?
And you know what? The issues are going to start, I think, when he has to represent America on the global stage. Because he has to go be a representative at the United Nations. He has to go be an ambassador for their country. And however that's going to play out, we got to remember that presidents can and have been kicked out of office.
It's true.
So if it gets to the point where he starts, stealing basic human rights from people for their religion, he can get kicked the hell out.
Yeah, no, it's true. And he would. That's sort of what I think where we're sort of bringing this conversation to, where this is not the end of the world, people. No. We're talking about the next president of the United States. We're not saying that he's going to be the best. I don't think he's going to be the worst. We've had many leaders who saw fit that slavery was okay.
Yeah, to arm people who are directly trying to kill your people.
Right, exactly. Where this is just a person who sees something that he might not think is okay, and he he emphasizes it. He talks about it ad nauseum. You know, he's gonna talk about all these things about how he wants to make the country better, and he's not going to stop. That is to the other side of the point where I want to sort of talk about, which is where the country has sort of now taken this man and this person and made him an excuse for this terrible acts that people have been doing. The racial crimes, these bullying going on.
Yeah, and it never stopped.
Yeah.
It was around long before he was.
Oh, yeah, but now they have a reason.
Yeah.
Like, they always had a reason, which is just they hate. People hate, and it's a terrible thing. But now they have someone to say, well, it's okay because look at our president.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. See, when the day after he got elected, a friend of mine on Facebook posted like this Imager post that was a collection of all these tweets about how all of a sudden the world was terrible and like students were being racist to other students and telling them to get out, or people were attacking people. First of all, this was already happening. Second of all, you can't discredit that it's the internet, where you can never believe anything at first glance because people want attention. So some of that, at least, and I know probably not everything, but at least some of the stuff that all of a sudden is happening as far as kids being racist, like, it could just be being made up, you know?
It's true.
That's not an excuse by any means, because the world is a terrible place anyway.
Yeah. No. I think what people might think you're saying is that it's okay for that to happen because then it's not real sort of thing. And I don't think you're saying that at all. Where you're saying like we need to have more information, we need facts, right? We don't want to jump the gun and say that the country's gone racist because of one man. I think that there is that hate there already, and because of this event where someone's got elected, where people see him as this racist, now sort of have taken a forward stance. They're okay with showing their racism.
Yeah, well,
and that is a fact.
Yeah, that's what I was saying, was that it's always been there.
Yes,
and it's going to be more out there now. But people taking that and turning it into this because of Trump thing and giving it that platform is going to make it so much worse.
Yeah, and
that's where my issue is.
It's going to be harder to find the truth.
Yeah,
I think too, because of the way of the internet. If I cough the wrong way, someone might say that it's a hate crime. You know, or if the opposite direction, it could be said for it true, where someone could do something terrible, and the internet sort of laughs at it and says it's fine, right? Yeah. And it's sort of just the nature of being on the internet and this world we're living in, where everything is we can one click away and we can find an article about anything.
Yeah,
Google it. Right?
Have you been on 4chan ever?
Yeah.
Like, racism was around and used for comedy and for self-defense and for us like to marginalize people long before Trump was in the picture for president, before he was born.
And it's terrible. I think that that sort of attitude, like that those people are taking, is terrible, and I truly do believe that this event, specifically Trump being elected, is not only going to bring some people to show the worst of themselves. I think that we're also going to see the opposite side of that, where people are standing up for themselves.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm hoping for, is that this is going to put a big old magnifying glass on it and bring some form of resolution to it. Like, you're never going to get rid of it. You're never going to get rid of it, because it's human nature to say you're different than me and I don't like you. Unfortunately, we're still working out of the back of our lizard brains on this one. But this is, it's scary. Yeah, it's scary that Trump is a president, because he, was I'm going to try not to swear, but he was a despicable person in a lot of ways. And now he's running a country that some people think is the most powerful one. But there's an opportunity to use that and build something good out of it.
I like the subtle nudge at U.S. not being the most powerful country too. There,
I honestly don't know.
No, I don't think they are.
Maybe it's China.
Yeah,
I don't know, man.
Political power is hard to say.
You underestimate how actively I have avoided politics my entire life.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing either, because as some people say, it's sort of ignorant to stay away from politics. I don't think necessarily that just because I have an opinion doesn't mean it's right. right? If I know nothing about politics, I don't want to be running a country. I want someone else to do that for me. And I think those people exist in the world. That's why we have a president. That's why we have prime minister. Those people have taken to themselves the feat of running a country, and they saw in themselves what I can't see in myself. Right, and I truly do believe that that's sort of their spot in the whole grand scheme of things. Overall, I think that me and Attilio both agree that this is sort of an event that we're just going to have to live. Trump's the president. I'm going to say it again. Trump is the president, or coming president.
Elect, yeah.
Yes. And people sort of have to realize that it's the reality of the world and that we sort of have to get past what happened and think about what's going to happen moving forward. Right? Where so many people are looking at the past. How could this happen? How could this happen? Hillary should have won. It's the worst thing for women's rights. This, that, and the other. Why aren't we talking about what are we going to do next?
You know what? It's interesting that people say Hillary losing is bad for women's rights, because Hillary winning would have been terrible for what's the acronym, LGBT with the extra letters on. I'm so out of touch, and I apologize. But she was against all that. She would have sent things backward too, in a different spectrum of it.
Yeah, no, it's true.
We're picking two evils here. Well, we're not picking. We have no say in it. But the American voting people are picking between two evils. And there's no clear. Yeah. At least I feel there was no one who was better than the other. At least with this, the rights that have been gained in the last few years on that end of it are going to be there. And he's not on his own. Trump is not just being like, I want this to happen. There's people there who are going to direct him. Yeah. He's going to have a vice president who's going to be helping out. He's going to have an entire system for the whole country who are going to oppose the batshit insane stuff that maybe people think that he's going to want to try to do. Yeah. This is not the end. We're not going to the Hunger Games.
Not yet. And yeah, to that sort of point of women's rights and Hillary losing, which was dramatized to be the worst thing for women's rights. I don't think personally that is a correct statement in the slightest, just because yes, women's deserve to have every chance to be the president of the United States, but that's just it. They have the right to show themselves out there to the public and have a vote taking. That is what democracy is. It's built on people saying who they want to represent them. That doesn't mean that Hillary wins just because she's a woman. That doesn't mean that if she loses, it's bad because she's a woman. It's just a fact. She lost and she's a woman. They don't mean anything together, you know?
This is a whole thing that's over my head, man.
It's just, to the point where
I'm not a lady person, so I don't really have.
No, and I truly do wish that there was more women in politics, and as well as the United States politics specifically. Here in Canada, we sort of see fit to have as many different views on topics as possible, which is great. And I wish that the United States cabinet and their sort of government system was sort of built around that sort of diversity as well, but they choose for themselves what they want to do, and they haven't seen that to be necessary for themselves. So, that's about all I had to say about that. And we've gone on to this conversation a little bit longer than we thought. Yeah. So I think
I was done after saying Hunger Games, man. That was my joke for the day.
This whole thing was just so you could say that
Hunger Games. Emperor Trump 2017.
All right. I'm going to play one more song for everybody, and then we're going to do Roots. We're going to play some Arcane Roots.
Yeah, buddy.
And then we're going to have a little bit of a conversation about a specific movie that just released. Here on Say Radio, the voice of Seneca College. That was Arcane Roots with Belief.
Love it.
Yeah. So, and I'm, of course, Tom with Till here, talking about some Toronto talent. And as much as, we love talking about the most controversial topics here.
Hot takes.
Yeah, hot takes. As I think we're going to end it on a bit of a lighter note. I haven't seen the movie specifically, but I do want to let Attilio here talk a little bit about the latest hit of...
Last weekend I saw Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
And from the commercials, I was expecting it to just be like Inception, but with some whizzy-wazzy effects. It was so cool.
Was it?
Oh my god, I loved it. Yeah, it was so much more than Inception.
That, you know, I saw like the trailers and I saw like specifically the bus stop billboards.
Oh, yeah.
And I think they did a really good job because like they did sort of make this picture of like this is very strange, but
I see what you
cool. Yeah.
Yeah. I've never been big on superhero stuff, so I kind of went into it just expecting to be like, oh yeah, visual effects, woo, like I was with, say, Guardians of the Galaxy.
Mm-hmm.
But no, it was funny, man.
Awesome.
It was a good movie. Captain, whatever his name is.
Captain Canada.
Icebox Cucumber was the main actor. It was a good time. I can never really say any movie's worth ticket price because they gouge you, but if anything was going to be close, that's definitely one of the movies.
Oh, yeah?
So check it out, man.
Oh,
check it out.
no, yeah. I definitely want to go see it. There's a couple of movies that have sort of come into my sights in the next couple months, so I'm definitely going to see a few of them. I think that's definitely going to be on my list.
Assassin's Creed, I'm hyped about. Dark Tower, born to watch it.
I wish you could see the enthusiasm that he had as he
My
said
arms
Dark Tower.
were fully out, fingers splayed.
It's very
Bring it on, Dark Tower Watch 2017.
Well, I hope you guys had a great time listening to us. I know I had a great time having this cool conversation with Tilio here.
Oh, thank you.
So
I hope so bad yourself.
Yeah, no, yeah. I hope I'm not. So I hope you guys enjoyed that, and I hope to see you next week here at noon on Tom and Till with Toronto Talent on C Radio, the voice of Seneca College. Have a great day, guys.